were not prepared for what was about to come. All of my hopes and dreams for a big family crumbling around me. In our situation, the chances of IUI working was less than 5%. At that point, I've been probably in the darkest place that I've ever been in my life. We are pregnant. Can you believe this? And he thought I was pranking him. Hi everyone, welcome to my first YouTube video. I thought it was fair to start my YouTube journey by sharing something that I've never talked about on any other social media platforms, and I also haven't even shared that with anybody in my life aside from my family, which is our fertility journey for baby number one. The reason why I decided to share with you guys is because I was in your shoes. I was that woman who was feeling alone, feeling like no one else is going through this but me, feeling so sad and depressed and wanting to connect to other women who were going through trying to conceive. And if this video gives at least one person some hope and positivity, then I've accomplished my goal. Before we get into today's video, my name is Daria and I share all things motherhood with new moms and mamas to be. I'm also planning on making fertility a series on my channel, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. So backstory, I always knew that I wanted to be a mom, that I wanted a big family, at least 2 kids and ideally 3. However, for the first few years of our marriage with my husband, I was focused on my career. I thought it was not a good time to have a baby. If you're in the same situation thinking, oh, it's not a good time right now, well, guess what? It never is. Back in 2021, we actually decided to have a baby, and it was a really exciting time for us. I was really oblivious to the whole trying to conceive process, to be honest with you. I didn't know much about it when we started. I thought that as soon as we are gonna stop preventing, we're gonna get pregnant, or shortly thereafter. I always had regular periods, so I didn't think that I had any issues potentially. So we stopped preventing in spring of 2021, and fast forward a few months later, nothing was happening. I was simply tracking my fertility on an app by putting kind of my period dates, and it was spitting out when my fertility window was. However, it was not accurate, but I didn't know that at the time. Then in August of 2021, I did what probably 90% of you guys are doing right now, which is I started doing my research and I actually started looking up, Googling, going on YouTube, trying to find different support groups, because obviously for us, it was just not happening without that additional help. And so I stumbled across information around starting to track my ovulation, which is what I started doing. So let me show you. I decided to be really organized from the first month that I was tracking my ovulation. This is August 2021. On this side, I was tracking my ovulation. And on this side, I was tracking to see if I was pregnant. See how many tests I took. So I was convinced that I was gonna be pregnant that month, which didn't happen. And I repeated the same thing for a number of months, as you can see here. Some months I literally skipped testing because I was, telling myself I'm not gonna test until I get my period, and then I got my period. So there was no need in testing. But I was doing that for a while. I was also writing down exactly what prenatals I was taking, if we were like doing anything different in that cycle, because I wanted to look back on a successful cycle and be able to say like, oh, this is what we did differently and this is how I can replicate that down the line in the future, which I think is super helpful, if not for my own research, but also if we're trying for baby number 2 potentially. We were tracking ovulation, we're doing anything possible to get pregnant naturally, and it just wasn't happening for us. So in fall of 2021 is when I decided to reach out to a fertility clinic. I was taking so many different supplements, so I just wanted to know if maybe I'm deficient in certain vitamins. So I just wanted to get that baseline from a fertility specialist. Little did I know that we're about to learn the most craziest news. We were not prepared for what was about to come. So they did my blood work, and I didn't think anything of it until my fertility specialist calls me one day. She just dumps all of this information onto me without kind of preparing me, without first, talking me through anything. She just flat out told me that I have a low ovarian reserve, and that if I don't freeze my eggs in the next couple of months, if I wait till the next year, then I might not be able to get pregnant ever again. That is what she told me, pretty much verbatim. So the fertility specialist told me that I had low ovarian reserve. I had no idea what that even meant. So I immediately started Googling. I freaked myself out. I was in bed crying for a week after those news. I just saw my world and all of my hopes and dreams for a big family crumbling around me. And I was honestly blaming myself. I thought that I should have just had a baby in my early 20s, that I've been waiting all this time, and now chances of me even having a baby are so slim. If you're going through bad news after bad news with your fertility journey and trying to conceive, I just want you to know that it's not your fault whatsoever. It's not your partner's fault. It's not your fault. Please don't blame yourself. So after getting those news, I needed some time to actually process and understand how I want to proceed and what we want to do. My fertility specialist also dropped another bombshell on us and said that the only way for us to get pregnant, she believes, was through IVF. To be honest with you, I am not opposed to IVF. I think it's a beautiful thing. However, I wasn't mentally prepared for this at all. So I needed some time to process, to understand my feelings. With that, we decided to take the rest of 2021 off. And in the new year, I decided to contact another fertility clinic because I thought that the first one didn't have the best bedside manner. I thought that they were really pushy. They didn't really give us any options. So I wanted to get a second opinion. And I definitely want to tell you guys to advocate for yourselves, because that is really, really important. No one else is going to advocate for you if you don't do it yourself. If something doesn't feel right, if you're not comfortable with something or the process, the pace that they're going with, the timelines, anything, please go ahead and get a second opinion. And that was honestly the best decision for us in our journey. So beginning of 2022, we decided to start fresh. Clean slate. I felt a little bit more positive. I was kind of settling into the news that we got from the first fertility clinic. I reached out to the second one. We went to meet them. They answered our question. And luckily, they decided to start fresh with us and retest everything. They saw all the results that I already had. However, they said that things could have changed in the past couple of months, so they wanted to retest, which I'm so grateful for, because everything that I was doing in terms of taking the supplements and focusing on my health, working out and everything, it paid off, and my results were way better than the first time around. So they actually told me that my ovarian reserve is not as low as I thought it was. So that gave me a lot of hope. However, unfortunately, with that good news, they also told me that they still recommend for us to go through with IVF instead of trying anything else. They told me that in our situation, the chances of IUI working was less than 5%. So they said, it's best for you guys just to move straight into IVF, which at that point I was kind of settling into that idea. I still wasn't obviously like really excited about that. I was hopeful that there's going to be another option for us, potential, at least some options for me to select from. Another thing that I asked my fertility doctor to do, and they did, is HSG procedure, which tested my fallopian tubes to make sure that there was no blockages in them. And I passed that with flying colors. There were no blockages at all. The procedure honestly was super easy and not even painful. I got more positive news, which was honestly really needed, because at that point I've been probably in the darkest place that I've ever been in my life. So getting that glimmer of hope was exactly what I needed at the time. On top of that, the fertility clinic decided to double check on my ovarian reserve. So we did do an ultrasound, and they told me that surprisingly I had a lot of follicles, and that confirmed that my ovarian reserve was not as low as we thought it was, which was just a blessing in disguise in all of the situation. However, with all of the testing, we were at that point in March of 2022. That was pretty much exactly a year since we started trying to conceive. We decided to put all the fertility conversations with our fertility clinic on pause, and our plan was to resume everything in the fall. So we decided to take the summer off, settle into our new house, then celebrate birthday, which both of our birthdays is in September. And then after that, we decided that we will resume with fertility treatments full force. And I was honestly kind of getting settled into the idea of potentially doing IVF in the fall. We also decided to take this time to really focus and hammer home on eating healthy every single day, not eating any takeouts, not having any bad habits, taking the supplements, and just getting our health to the absolute best that it can ever be before even starting the egg retrieval process. So one of my biggest pet peeves when I was trying to conceive was when people were telling me, oh, just stop trying and it will happen. Just get your mind off of things, you know, it's gonna happen before you know it or when you least expect it. And I was always kind of looking at them and being like, okay, sure, you clearly haven't dealt with infertility because you can't just take your mind off of things. This is the first and the last thing that you think about every single day. So it is absolutely impossible to get your mind off of things and just stop trying. And we try to do that here and there. Like, for example, when we go on vacation, if I'm being honest with you, I was still thinking about it every single day. Like, I couldn't just shut my mind off. However, when we were in the midst of moving and starting different projects on the house, those few months, I actually got my mind off of things. And that was honestly the biggest blessing because we were not prepared to what was about to happen. To our absolute biggest shock and disbelief, we got pregnant. And I was in such disbelief that I thought the test was faulty. Then I took another test. I thought that that test was probably expired. I took another test. After like 5 tests that showed that I was pregnant, I finally told my husband and I was just like, what? We are pregnant. Can you believe this? And he thought I was pranking him the entire time. Like, he did not believe me. I showed him all of those tests and he goes like, how did you fake those tests? Or like, did you like buy a positive pregnancy test somewhere? We both were in absolute disbelief that we were able to get pregnant naturally. And if anything, I just hope that this video helps someone out there that it is possible to get pregnant and like miracles do happen regardless of how you conceive, whether you conceive naturally, whether you do IUI, whether you do IVF, whether or not you end up adopting, regardless of what that process and that fertility journey looks like for you, it is a beautiful process and your baby is going to be next to you very, very soon. I'm sending all of you guys all the baby dust in the world and I really do hope that this video helps someone out there. If you made it this far, please make sure to comment phrase baby dust to everyone and make sure you're subscribed to my channel because I will be sharing additional information, all the different tips and tricks, how you can hopefully implement to conceive as fast as possible. And I will be seeing you in my next video. Bye guys.